Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for an awesome webinar event that we're about to have. My name is Dolu Abatusin, and I'll be representing the Healthcare Innovation Special Interest Group as the program chair this evening. My function within HiSig is programs chair, and essentially I'm responsible for developing programs on behalf of HiSig and coordinating with the rest of the board to deliver events between HiSig and our partners. So just a little bit about myself. Uh, so a little bit about myself. So my bachelor's and master's are both in biomedical engineering from New York Institute of Technology and Cornell University. And professionally, I am a developer, but I work as a consultant at Slalom now, just recently. And so in tonight's event, you guys are going to learn about the innovative work and all the awesome people and opportunities that are available at Phillips Healthcare. Before we jump right into things, I'm going to go over some housekeeping items for everyone that's on this call tonight. Right. So one, we ask that you mute your audio and turn off your video during the presentations. And you can use the chat feature for any question or issues that may arise, during the webinar. That should be able to work for you all. And then, during the Q&A session, seems like we're going to have two Q&A sessions tonight, and we'll make the necessary announcements for that. We also ask that you, that's when you can basically ask your questions. And if you have questions during the webinar, you can simply put it in the chat and someone will be able to respond to you. And most importantly, we ask that you be attentive, you have fun, and just have your questions ready. So what is the agenda for tonight? Well, we have about an hour and a half to learn all about what NSB HiSig is all about and what we're doing within the NSB ecosystem. And then we'll learn about Philips medical device innovations from our presenters, an overview about opportunities that are available at Philips, and some of the employees at Phillips will be sharing their experience in a panel, which will be moderated by our very own Dr. Josh Hooker. And then we'll finish up with some closing remarks. Okay, so some of you may already be familiar with NSB HiSig, right? So we are the Healthcare Innovation Special Interest Group, and essentially the vision of HiSig is to be the most trusted ecosystem for technical expertise and solutions to complex healthcare problems impacting the Black community. And our mission is to promote the development and implementation of innovations that will improve diagnosis, treatment, prevention of injury, illnesses, and diseases. And our approach to doing this is by the way of the care strategy. Essentially, summarize, it means connecting with members who have interest in the healthcare sector, right? And we promote the advancement of healthcare innovations through research development and commercialization. And then this network effect of members who are interested in advancing healthcare innovation helps us to recruit and retain other members who are interested in healthcare innovation. And last but not least, through relationship building with HiSig on a national level, we've created a platform to essentially positively impact the Black community through education and exposure to various healthcare disparities, device innovations, and career opportunities. And as you can see from this map, we've grown to approximately 600% in general body members, roughly. And we have a social media following, and this all started with 3 engineers, and now the leadership board has grown, and we're continually looking for individuals to step up to be leaders and participate in HiSig. And also to localize the care strategy. So HiSig has launched the ecosystem model, which was in 2020. which established a growing healthcare subsystem in various parts of the United States. And also, we have an international presence. As far as our programming is concerned, this is my area right now, right? We have 6 key programs which kind of work together all across the different regions that I mentioned earlier, right? So we aspire to do things like the design challenge, and we've done this in the past. Things like the industry tour, webinars, networking mixer, and having an innovation panel. Our partnership with the Nimble Experience program, where we mentor students who are interested in the biopharmaceutical industry, and also like webinars like the one we're having right now. As you can see, there's a lot going on with NSBE High SIG, and it takes a team to execute and put together the programming that you guys are all part of today. And this is the team that that's doing all of that. With that being said, I will now turn it over to the Phillips team. I'm so excited to hear all about innovations at Phillips, career opportunities, and yeah, to just have a very rich and engaging discussion with the team today. All right, thank you. I will now pass it over to, I know it's not Tiffany. Yeah, okay. Tiffany?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, this is Kimberly Mingo, and thank you so much for that overview of NSBE. I've known NSBE for a lot of years, and it's really exciting to see how the organization continues to evolve over the years. So it's a partnership that we value here at Phillips. So we're hoping that we give you an opportunity to learn more about our company, the opportunities, and it's great to see you too, Dr. Gray. He and I go way back. So personal friends, including your CEO, over the years. So NSBE has a very special place in my heart and others that are on this call as well. So again, thank you for the opportunity, and it's a pleasure to address your group. And we have a really robust presentation for you all today. And I have, along with myself, I've been with Phillips for almost not even a year, so about 8 months, but I've been in the healthcare industry for over 23 years at multiple companies in various roles. And the others that will be joining me, Dr. Andrew Amnavar, he will be joining us on the presentation, Pamela Hall, Tiffany Gooden, and we also have Freda Lowry Jackson. And we also have one other individual that'll be joining us a little later on the panel, Lewis Ellis. So we believe and really want this to be interactive and give you an opportunity to get your questions answered so that you have a good opportunity to learn more about who we are, really what we're up to as a company. A really exciting time in healthcare. So I think this innovation is going to, share some opportunities that maybe you hadn't thought about as, with being an engineer. So many different avenues for consideration. We will, just to review the agenda here, so just a few, welcome and opening remarks, and then we'll dive right into the meat of our presentations, which, we'll share with you some of the innovations and how we as a company have evolved over the years. So really exciting things that we hope will resonate with you. We'll also do an overview on, career opportunities here at Phillips. And then we'll spend a good amount of time in some Q&A. So you have an opportunity to learn more about who we are and what type of roles are here that we hold. Our team really represents different markets. So private sector, healthcare, public sector, in government. I lead our government business. We also have different functions, HR. We also have different types of business units. So Phillips has various business units, so which delivers a very robust portfolio. So really our goal is, just to share that with you, and really how we make an impact in the lives of people. And that's one of the things that attracted me to Phillips, is the mission of the company, really grounded in breakthrough innovation, and how we're using that innovation to really make a difference in the lives of people globally. So this is our agenda, and we hope that it resonates with you. But just a little bit about what I love about NSBE is the members that I've known have been very, open to new areas, new ideas, how you can continue to, take your learnings and translate that into meaningful work. And I think that, and I've always been impressed with not only the attitude of members of NACI, but how individuals that have been affiliated with NACI, maybe in college, how they continue to remain a part of the organization. And what we know is that there's various cycles in life, and people are at different points in their careers. Some might be looking for entry-level roles. Some might be ready to take that next career, mid-career type role, and then some that are ready for those executive leadership roles. And what's been really impressive is they've all been grounded in the values of NSBE. So we're really excited to be here, and again, we want this to be interactive and want you to get as much as you can out of this opportunity. Next slide, Tiffany. So what we thought would resonate, and when we thought about what's the best kind of message we want to deliver, it's really this. There's a lot of challenges in in healthcare, and medical devices really become an enabler for improving the healthcare of others. But one area that we thought would be one where a lot of innovation is happening is, innovation for low resource settings, and the impact that innovation can have on equitable care outcomes. We all have lived through the challenging times of COVID-19. On the other side of that, there were so many learnings and so much that was exposed during the pandemic, that we believe this topic, and what you'll hear about during our presentation, is what role we're playing as an organization to really address these challenges as it relates to equitable care. So we thought this would be a good theme for our presentation today. Next slide. So I myself, Kimberly Mingo, I'm the Vice President of Government Sales here in North America. Phillips being a global company, we serve different global markets, and our North America market is actually the largest in the company. So really excited to represent the company, being a Dutch company, knowing that North America really contributes to a lot of the growth of the company. So I lead our government business, and Dr. Andrew Omnivar leads our government research. So in his role, he interacts with government agencies, academics, as well as some public sector health systems as well. But he and I will give you an overview, a lot of the portfolio. But I said the others will also play a role throughout the time that we have with you today. Next slide. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to you, Dr. Omnivar.
Thank you very much, Kim. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to you folks. Thank you very much again. And as Kim, and by the way, I work for Kim. Kim is my boss. I just want to make sure put that up front. And so if you see my voice is shaking, because I'm making presentation in front of my boss. So Phillips has been in business for 130 years. As you can see, we started 905, and even after 2019, we had some new innovation. For those of you who follow the industry, in fact, one of the interesting part is we invented the CD, we invented the DVD, and the reason for it was to store MRI or X-ray images, then we can move it from one location to another. Since 2019, we have created what we call it helium-free MRI, which is an MRI which is a smaller size, a smaller footprint, a smaller magnet, but with the same image quality. And you don't have to use helium because the shortage of helium is a very, very big problem in the world. We also have passed or got 510(k) certification for an intelligent ultrasound for detection of COVID, which is an important step on the imaging as far as the infectious disease concern. That effort is supported by Health and Human Services, specifically BARDA, Biological Research and Development Authority. And also we have a new kind of nebulizer we are excited about, and it's actually hit the market, and I'm going to talk about it. So these things have been done since 2019. Next. We spend about $2 billion of our annual budget on R&D. It seems like a lot. About 12,500 people are in different capacity working on that. 2,500 of them are specifically scientists working on future research. In last 130 years, we have 130,000 patents. I did a very, very simple calculation. That is 1,000 patents per year. And considering only there are 200 days in working days in a year, you're looking at 1,600 hours basically. And if you divide the number of patents, 1,000 patents by that, every 96 minutes, there is a patent filed either in Cambridge or in Shanghai or in Bangalore, India, or in Eindhoven, Netherlands. So every 96 minutes, there's somebody in Phillips filing a patent, which is a very, very tough pace to follow. Next. Phillips, I'm going to focus on Phillips Research North America specifically. We do a number of things like artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, big data analytic, and ultrasound, radiology information, informatic, and genomic. Let me focus on predictive patient analytic. We have the capability to monitor remotely thousands of patients at a distance, and actually following their biometric, which we can collect up to 164 different biometric on a human being if they are in hospital or in ICU. And actually we can, for the ones at home, we can actually send the ambulance before they know they need the ambulance. On the infectious disease, we have a project called RATE. It is called Respiratory Assessment of Threat Exposure. We are doing this large project for DOD, and we have monitored up to 25,000 people or cadet or places like West Point Naval Academy, for places like that, for military. And what is important on this one, we can tell 48 hours before the onset of infection, just like COVID, that people are going to be susceptible or they are going to get the infectious disease or they are coming down with something. We don't know exactly what, so we can identify the number to the military, and military knows who that individual is, and therefore they can pull him off the rank and do the things that they need to do, get him to attend hospital, etc., etc. For example, on the image-guided therapy, we have the capability to put a stent with ultrasound, which is very, very difficult. And the cost of doing that, it's a lot lower, and the hospital stay is lower when you do it as compared to the open surgery, etc. We have the capability to do other things like imaging informatic and visualization of images, etc. I will talk about those a little later. Next. So as far as the business is concerned, image-guided therapy is one of the giant, big vertical in Phillips. That is the place that X-ray, CT, PET, MRI, and all the ultrasounds are there. Also, we do have a smart catheter laboratory, smart catheters, and managing of the catheter laboratories. We also can do disease-specific navigation software. On patient monitoring, we are probably number 1 or 2 in the world. We manage, for example, thousands of ICU bed for customers like VA and DoD. We also have capability for wireless and, as I suggest, remote monitoring of the patient via IntelliView Guardian software. For example, IntelliView, you can have 350 different kind of monitor connected to it, and that would be 300 different patients, and it can manage all of those. We have the capability to do integrated consulting services for people who are building new hospital or changing the flow of patient and diagnostic therapy, treatment, etc. in hospital. Also, we do have a big vertical on sleep and respiratory. On the respiratory, we have one of the unique capabilities in the world. We have the capability to make what we call it person-specific respirators. And these person-specific respirator, we can look at somebody's face, and actually by camera looking at somebody's face, we can create a respirator mask which fit that specific face. Therefore, it will provide more oxygen, less leakage, etc., etc. On the sleep, we have several different apps. One of them called Dream Mapper. It can map your sleep and tell you where you're asleep, when you are having your REM sleep or when you are not having the sleep, and whether you have a sleep problem. And also we have the capability to do what we call it a headband to actually provide you with a more suitable sleep. That is not a medical device, that's more of a lifestyle device, but it is as important. In fact, NASA is using those as research and development pieces. Next. So Phillips has made a commitment to ourselves. We have made this commitment to ourselves that we're going to improve the lives of 2.5 billion people by year 2030, and 400 million of them are going to be in low resources setting, and low resources setting. It could be Kenya, it could be Zambia, it could be Angola, or India, Indonesia, also South Texas, Appalachia, Central California, so places like that. Next. Healthcare challenges and need for equity framework. The healthcare, the future is here for the healthcare. Unfortunately, that future is not evenly distributed. And Kim is going to tell you why. Kim?
Yes. Okay. Trying to get my camera off. Can you see me? There we go. Wonderful. So let's talk about some of the challenges that the healthcare industry is experiencing now. And a lot of us are hearing more and more about how do we, can you go back to the last slide? There, thank you. How do we tackle the health inequities that are within communities? And as I mentioned, this really became, we know that, being part of the communities, we know there's a difference when you have, a physician that is, an African-American physician or a female physician. We know that the interaction does deliver better outcomes because it's better communication, better understanding. But we also know that during COVID, it was very clear that the communities that were most impacted by the COVID disease were in communities of color. So, now that it's been raised and more visibility, what are we going to do about that as an industry? And that's what you have companies like Phillips, talking about. How do we design health? How do we incorporate health equity at the design level or the ideation level around new innovations. Health systems are trying to understand how do they provide better care for all of their communities that they cover. So this is a big topic of discussion. And then also we know that healthcare is moving beyond the walls of a hospital. You see this with the retail, the growth in retail healthcare with the Walmarts and the CVS's, but the increase in the number of outpatient, facilities. So how do we continue to expand healthcare beyond the hospital walls into your homes? So that's another big transition. We really look at the continuum of care from prevention all the way through recovery in someone's home. So that all requires new technologies. Healthcare leaders, another thing that was impacted during the pandemic is there's healthcare shortages. How do you retain staff? Because all of that plays into providing better outcomes when you have, your staff is happy in what they're doing. They're not overstressed. So it's going to take more than, just putting more bodies. It's going to really require innovation to help to, to manage some of the staff challenges that are out there. A lot of physicians are leaving the industry, from practicing medicine. So these are some of the big challenges that healthcare leaders are dealing with. Some of the biggest expenses on their bottom line are around the people side of delivering healthcare. So we need to figure out how do we help them retain their staff and make their staff more efficient and effective. How do we unlock the power of data? There are so many devices. We contribute to those devices as well through innovation that are generating just immense amount of data. But how do we leverage that data? How do you move the data around when you're talking about expanding outside the hospital walls? How do you support care that, a patient's care where they're receiving it in various points in different settings? So unlocking that power of data and then actually moving the data around is one of the biggest challenges. We have to leverage predictive analytics. So we're more proactive in managing health as opposed to reactive. And that really helps to supercharge care in communities. But more importantly, security and privacy concerns. And you all have heard about it, the hacking of, hospital data. There's so much security now, and because of cloud-based technology. So privacy concerns for patients is very important. And how do we ensure that the devices are secure, but they're not so secure that they can't function properly? So those are big challenges. And with cybersecurity, that is, that the industry is also working really hard at, and sustainability in healthcare. And Andrew's going to talk a lot more about that. But, healthcare is probably one of the areas that generates a lot of, they contribute a lot to climate. When he mentioned our helium-free, MRI. Well, helium is a precious reserve. It's not an endless material. So we have to be very, aware of how do we develop new technologies that are more sustainable. So a big focus, and we as a company, it's a big initiative of ours, and have pledged that we will continue to be innovative to be more sustainable in our solutions. Next slide. So health equity framework and health equity, there's so many different dimensions to health equity that are, are education related, safe neighborhoods. These are foundational things that are part of how do we, provide better and equitable care. But the one that we want to focus on, and the one that we as a company can most influence, really is the one where you see the star. And that's accessible, affordable, and culturally relevant healthcare. So some of the solutions and that we focus on, one being mental health. That's an area of innovation for us. maternal and child adolescence health. We have some solutions that are really making a difference and in providing better educational care. And these might not be an MR or it might not be a CT. It's using new applications that provide better learning. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But screening, prevention, and better treatment is something that our portfolio directly contributes to. And that's, thinking about oncology, cancer, breast cancer, being one of the, diseases that African American females are really challenged with the forms of cancer. So we have CT scanners that we are designed to have very low dose screening, early detection using AI. But so there's a lot of different solutions that we're developing in this, and will contribute to health equity. And then dental health being another one, which is one of our big business units as well, personal health. So this is a big topic right now, and it's more than just technology. It's going to require a framework that addresses various aspects that will contribute to better health equity for all. Next slide. And again, these are some of the areas that will improve health equity. You hear a lot about the social determinants of health, where these are things with the community and that you live in. So it's a lot of different things that we as innovators of technology and health systems, we before didn't necessarily have to think about. Can someone get to their appointment? Do they have problems with accessing food? All of these contribute to health equity. And we have to figure out how technology can be an enabler for better, to address some of those social determinants. A lot of research, a lot of funding out of the government that's starting to take place now. Racism and other forms of oppression. When you interact with a doctor, how comfortable do you feel expressing and your concerns with them? Are you being heard? Do they resonate? Do they have empathy? Are they knowledgeable about diseases that might be more prevalent in people of color? So those are some of the areas that that are clearly impact the health equity. We have to partner with the community. And those are the things that we're doing, even with some of the strategic partnerships that we're building with our companies. So to be successful in this is going to take a process. It takes a framework. And if we do that, we can actually innovate quality medical devices that do have a great impact on reasonable cost. Access, might be cost, the type of insurance, being able to have better, wider access available for people. It shouldn't depend on what zip code you live in. So those are the things that we are focused on. And how do we get that care out of the hospital and into the community for patients to, have more equitable care and better outcomes. And then that means that we can low quality devices and solutions really, are a barrier to that. If you have high cost of ownership, then you're not going to be have access to that technology. So these are the things that we're looking at, and why a framework like this and being able to incorporate these ideas at the point of innovation, as opposed to trying to figure it out once technology is out in the marketplace. So next slide. And before we transition, I don't know if there was any questions. I saw some comments. Were there questions in the chat at this point?
None that I see so far, Kim. I think you're doing such a great job that it's pretty clear. I'm sure other questions will arise later.
Great. And this is really a big one. We're all, you all are all engineers. I was a math major, computer science. And, it's all about how do we solve problems. And that's where all of us really play a role in that. And, even if you may not be an engineer designing, you experience healthcare in various ways. And we need to make sure that we are incorporating our experiences, and we give avenues like this to, to give you an opportunity to, share what you're experiencing, what your family might be experiencing, because that's really when we can start to incorporate, some of that, and make sure that, research and clinical trials and the selection, and you'll hear more about that. It's really going to be critical that we all take a stand and get engaged somehow to be sure that, all of the, determinants of health and, things that contributed to equitable care are really taken into consideration. So that's why we really wanted to spend a little bit of time to, share how we approach it and what we think about, as we innovate and develop new solutions. So I'm going to transition to Andrew. Yes, and that's a great question to elaborate on the low resource settings, Andrew. That was a question that was just in the chat.
Yes, thank you very much, Kim. I appreciate it. Next slide. Time check. How much time do I have, by the way?
20 minutes, I think, is good.
Okay, thank you. The reason I put this one up, not for everybody to read everything written in this, but actually, if you look in the middle, it says sustainable access to healthcare for underserved. That is actually what Kim was talking about. You have to need an impact right before we do anything, awareness and behavior, affordability, operational staff, digital solution, referral chain supply, paying the customer, who is the paying customer, enablers and requirement, and finally go to market. In order to do one single device, you have to go through that many stuff, and you could get any one of these steps you get wrong, probably that's going to be a disaster as far as the investment and work for medical devices. Next, one of the newest item, for example, we have, go ahead, please, next slide. So next, we're going to come back to that. One of the areas that we think it can improve the lives of people in low and low resources setting is mobile obstetric monitoring, MOM. What we have done, we are looking at 1,000 days from the gestation all the way to when the kid become capable of not breastfeeding. And by the way, one of the newest item in Phillips is a wearable breast pump at Phillips, which was introduced. It's one of the best one, actually the best one in the market, and you can have interact with that. The mom can interact with that through the iPhone. We also have a mom caregiver app. This is for the people who are around mom, the sister, the mother, the kids, and the parents, etc. Also, we do have a mom patient app. We have another app, and we also have a mom portal. One of the items in this whole ecosystem is called, and by the way, we are working with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to develop an ultrasound for an intelligent ultrasound for midwives in low resources setting, and that is one of the largest effort as far as R&D concerned in the world. One of the items we have in this package is called Pregnancy Plus. The Pregnancy Plus app is not a medical app. It's mostly informational app. When we have about 55 to 60 million subscriber on that one. If you want to compare it to the next one anywhere in the world, the next competition is 4.5 million. So we are Philips is making a dent in this difficult low margin area, and that is for one of the good things that Philips is doing for improving the lives of people all over the world. Next. As part of that, we have fetal monitors and fetal monitoring station that you can connect. We have pregnancy patch. We also have patient monitoring, the biosensor. Those biosensor can stick on the body and they can go on for 12 days and you can take shower with it, etc. The other one is a charm device, which is for that goes around the baby and monitoring the baby around the clock. And the final one is the crank up fetal monitoring. It doesn't require electricity, so we actually crank it, and I actually have one sitting in my office. Next. This is one of the items that it's brand new. To give you an idea, for those of you who haven't seen a nebulizer was a big machine. You have to connect it to electricity, and it was noisy, and then you tube is connected to it, and then you have to put water, etc., and all of that. This device is only 110 grams. And one of the awesome thing about this, it uses mesh technology as opposed to ultrasonic or jet technology. And why is this important? Because the treatment time is only 4 minutes. And by the way, if you put 2.5 milligram of medication in this nebulizer, it will deliver 7 milligram output to the patient. And that is very, very important because some of the respiratory medicines are very, very expensive and provides up to 30 treatment per charge. So this is one of the newest items. It's called Inspire Go. If you actually Google it, there is a lot of stuff on internet regarding this. This is one of the newest innovation in Phillips. Next. And that is explaining the jet nebulizer versus ultrasonic versus active mesh nebulizer. And for those of you who want to understand, for those engineers who want to, this is a micropipe designed by micromachining, etc. Next. Another one is the Lumify handheld ultrasound. This is an ultrasound that you can connect the transducers, whether it's linear, curvilinear, or linear curve or curvilinear. You can connect those transducers to your iPhone or your Android phone, and basically then you download an app and you have an ultrasound to go. And we sell this device in developed world for subscription. It's $199. Probably it's going to go up because of all the issues happening in the world. Shortage of chip, etc., etc. This is actually revolutionizing the business of ultrasound. And in fact, one of the idea for this one is it can do, by the way, Phillips has the capability to do ultrasound for compartment syndrome, for fast exam, for detection of abdominal bleeding, for in case of lung, we can do detection of pneumonia. We can do B-line, which is actually indication of COVID. We can do consolidation, pleural fusion. All of these can be done with intelligent algorithm, and it become a multifunctional device. And this multifunctional device actually has a very good application triage when in the scene of disaster or in the emergency room, basically can tell, well, the person has pneumonia, yes, doesn't have pneumonia, or I cannot tell. And therefore, if you cannot tell, then you go and see the radiologist. So it cuts down 90% of the referral to the radiologist, which is the most expensive item in the supply chain for imaging out of 90% of determination. Next. The next one I talked about is sleep and respiratory. Part of the respiratory is focused on oxygen. Phillips is one of the largest supplier of oxygen via concentrator. We have deployed something like 3 million of them in 80 different countries. This picture is 63 different countries during the August of 2021. And if you look at the picture in August of 2022, it has not changed much. It has not changed much. So there is a lot. And by the way, this is the slide created that every breath counts. Every breath counts. And they are actually saying the shortage of oxygen is one of the major medical problem in low resources setting. Example, 4.2 million children die in low resources setting just for not receiving oxygen in annual basis. Next. Then one of the case for concentrators are technologies which are basically not very new. Very few of them have AI in them. Very few of them have touch screen. Very few of them have technology that can actually use 1/10 of electricity and provide 10 times oxygen. We are working toward such a technologies in Phillips. It's under R&D at this point, but the good news is if we spend $20 to $50 on oxygen in the world, we can save one life. And in comparison to vaccine, you have to spend $120 to save one life. By the way, we also proposing an idea, a business transformation idea called Oxygen as a Service, rather than each organization or each supplier provide oxygen on their own. We're suggesting all of these needs to be integrated by industry suppliers to make a country, a clinic, a hospital, a nursing home, an ambulance, a country, or a city, a state, a country, oxygen self-sufficient. Next. Kim pointed out some of the low quality medical devices that people have created. This is an example of all the Chinese oxygen concentrators that they won the bid because of low prices, and they ended up in medical equipment graveyard. And the idea in here is if we can provide service and maintenance and reduce the cost of ownership, as Kim suggested, it may become sustainable. Therefore, they would not end up in graveyard. Next. So what are the challenges to improve health equity globally? Next. The challenge of medical device innovation, designing, developing, manufacturing medical devices are hard. I'm sure every one of you engineers have heard two guys in the garage. Yes, two guys on the garage, they can develop what we call it engineering prototype. Going from engineering prototype to a medical device is a very costly process. Safety, quality, efficacy, regulatory, FDA, CE, European certification, or so things of that nature. It's going to cost between $3 to $10 million, depending on the device. So having an engineering prototype, while it is awesome, it is going to be a very difficult challenge. And most likely, most of the investors, they are not willing to put money on things pre-FDA, because if the FDA doesn't pass it, then all the investment is gone. In fact, you can see that in the stock market. Sometimes the FDA turned down some drug or some medical device and all, and you see the impact on the stock of the company. Doing medical devices for low research setting is even more difficult because, as Kim said, they have a reasonable quality, reasonable cost of ownership. Also, they have to be more resilient. They have to, for example, if you plug them in the electricity in developed world, the electricity is always present or it go. In low resources setting, low resources countries, the electricity can go do brownout, not necessarily go, not necessarily come. Therefore, basically, it kills most of the devices. The concept of target product profile, all the NGOs are very much into that. Oh, we're going to develop a target product profile. It's going to cost $450. And then the problem is usually these devices do not have a sustainable business model behind them. And whether the price is low or high, usually it is when it comes to the actual commercialization and business, they are not sustainable. My suggestion, or Phillips' suggestion, is the TPP are mostly done by scientists with little business know-how. The suggestion is the business model should dictate the TPP or target product profile rather than the other way around. A low cost is orthogonal to quality if you wanted to make it low cost, and that is a problem for low resources setting. Most of the devices ended up in graveyard if they do not have sufficient quality. The best of breed is an awesome idea. They say, hey, go find the best thing from every company, bring him to a clinic in southern Texas. But the problem is no company is willing to provide the resources or devote resources to do what is needed for service, maintenance, upkeep, and all of that. And usually most of them keep dying one at a time till all it's done. Next. And as you can see, some of these actually been covered by Kim, service maintenance training quality. So I'm not going to belabor on it. Access to care is a right. Sustainable model, business model will require one-time investment, not keep putting money in it. Most generate value to sustain business, to sustain the business as a service. Access to quality care is a right, not a privilege. Sustainability will impact availability of quality of care, and Kim explained that in detail. Sustainable business model will result in achieving quadruple aim, access to quality care, cost of care comes down, outcome and result are going to go up, and quality of care usually go up. Next. The reason I have these two folks in here, these are really truly authority in what they are saying and authority on what they are doing. In fact, if you look at Matt, he is saying the bias is in algorithmic data. As Kim already explained, selecting people for clinical study, clinical trial, and all that, that is where the thing is start. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Kim to explain a little more on that.
And Andrew, I think we've talked a lot about this, but I think what's important is that, it's not just us saying that it's more, that, the biases is in the design of technology. The biases is everywhere. It's systemic. And that's where, besides doing, the algorithmic data and AI applications, we have to look at in some of the non-technical aspects of delivering healthcare, making sure that, we have representation in those clinical studies. So we can get the data. We have representation when, treatment decisions are being made for patients. So that's really, it's going to take that health equity framework that has in all aspects of that are going to really make a difference. And in what, like Andrew was saying, it's not just us saying, it's also scientists at Harvard and leaders in such as Lisa here, pointing that out. How do you develop technology for good so that it really is transformative? So that's really kind of the point we wanted to just kind of double click on here.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next.
So at this point, I will I'll turn it over to Tiffany, and we'll talk more about what we do here at Phillips.
Hi, Kim. I think this might still be your slide here.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm
okay.
Next.
So this one is real quick. So we're just going to talk about engineers. Being NSBE, we know that's the core of the STEM here. So there's a lot of different roles. Research and development, as you know, you heard with Andrew, it all starts there. And there's certainly a lot of research and development opportunities and support that's needed. Product development is also where a lot of, you know, developing those prototypes, the testing so that you can hit the quality and all the things that Andrew talked about that really create a sustainable program, you know, from prototype to actual practice, you know, making that transition, clinical studies and validation, regulatory. That's such a huge aspect. You can develop and spend a lot of millions of dollars developing a prototype, and then it gets to the regulatory bodies like FDA, and you don't get that approval. So you know that those are different areas that we have opportunities in product development. Software engineering, data scientists and analytics. As I said, you know, cloud-based solutions. It's not just developing a CT or an MR, it's the informatics that now helps translate those smart devices and gets that data so that we can start to utilize the data in make it improving outcomes as well. And then, you know, we do have the engineers where to support the products that might be out there in the field and prevent those what you call the equipment graveyards that are out there. So how do you address the full life cycle from acquisition through disposition and repurposing those technologies as well for parts? And it really takes a focused effort, you know, to develop a whole life cycle process for this technology. So those are some of the things that engineers at Phillips, that some of the things that we do. And it really is customer facing, and in some cases it might just be, you know, working in the research and development labs. So a lot of different opportunities. Next slide. Now I'll turn it over to Tiffany to talk more about those career opportunities, even outside of the engineering type roles.
Thanks, Kim. Hi, everyone. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about the types of roles that we have, and I think spending a little bit of time focusing on what skills we are looking for in the application process. So as you're thinking about potentially joining the Phillips family, you have a sense of what are some of the kind of key attributes that we will be looking for. I'm going to put this and kind of keep this on in the background here because I think it's a really great opportunity to showcase the kind of core businesses and the core functions that we have here. You heard from Cam and you heard from others about, and Dr. Omadvar, about the three different kind of core businesses that we run with our kind of precision diagnosis, kind of connected care and personal health, and learned a lot about some of the innovation that comes out of that. And within each of these three businesses, there's more than just engineering roles. Let's take personal health, for example. For those of you who may be thinking about transitioning or transferring to something that's in the marketing space, that's a really great opportunity for you in our oral health business and maybe some of our maternity maternal care business, the breast pump, again, that Dr. Omadvar had mentioned. For those of you who are really interested in some of the topics that we talked about around big data and how do you take what you have, all of this information that we are getting from our hospitals and health systems, and really make sure that we're pulling this together so that it can help address equitable outcomes for patients, you might be very interested in our connected care. It's a lot like kind of consulting business and really kind of deep diving around research and kind of in analytics, which is exciting. And then you also have our businesses that are in diagnosis and treatment. And a lot of that is we're focused around informatics. So if you have an engineering background, but you have transitioned since or looking to transition into other types of roles, these kind of we would have a really great opportunities here at Phillips. Kim mentioned some of the opportunities that we have, and I don't think that we need to kind of go through most of those again. But I did want to point out that we do have excuse me, that we do have locations all across the United States. We have a lot of hybrid locations for us in major cities in the Northeast and on the West Coast. So as you're thinking about your career and where that might take you, please do consider, continue to consider Phillips. And as I mentioned, we're looking for a few skills that I think many of you with your engineering background and training will really be able to bring to the table. So when you're thinking about kind of on the marketing side of things, we're really looking for people who are going to be team-oriented and innovative. Innovation you'll hear as a theme kind of across the board. So when you're thinking about producing or putting together your resume, calling out opportunities where you have created something new or have done something innovative within your organizations would be incredibly helpful. Another skill that we're often looking for that you may not see on the job description, but it's a part of the ethos here at Phillips, is to be customer focused. And so if there are opportunities or experiences that you've had where you have really been engaged with clients or customers, that is something that you're going to want to call out throughout the process, the hiring process here at Phillips. We want to know that we're bringing on team members who are going to be thinking about all of the things that we talked about earlier around and passionate about reducing the inequities in healthcare and also helping to spur innovations. And that really comes with being focused and thinking about the customer as a first step. One other thing that I think I'd like to highlight here before we move on to the career panel is that it's really important for us to be bringing together teams that are highly adaptable and highly collaborative. And I think that that's one of the wonderful things about the Phillips experience. You'll hear about that more during the employee experience panel. But if there are opportunities for you to showcase where you have come in one kind of task with doing something, and then maybe have had to pivot or have it change, or more information has changed the approach. Those are the types of experiences that we are excited to see, excited to bring to the table here, and would love to see in your resume or in your interview. So ways in which you're adaptive, we really want to hear. Ways in which you are thinking about, and collaborative, ways in which you are thinking about the customer as being first, and really kind of client and customer centric. And then I would say the final thing that we are looking for, although it's not the final, it really is kind of overarching everything, is innovation and how you have maybe brought innovative competencies to the table. There are a few other things that maybe we can talk about during a little bit later. I do want to transition on quickly, such as team orientation. That's incredibly important for us as well. Leadership, whether that's formal or informal. And I find that a lot of candidates who are coming from backgrounds outside of healthcare, or maybe they have not had formal leadership opportunities, are not necessarily sharing all the great informal opportunities that they had for leadership, and that's important for us as well. But we will have an opportunity, I think, to talk more and to answer more questions about the application process and the hiring process. But please, as you're thinking about us and as you're thinking about kind of your career and your future and making an impact on our communities, we hope that you continue to think about Phillips and go to our career site to learn more. I'm going to now turn it over to Dr. Joshua Gray, who will be moderating our career experience panel.
Great, thank you so much for and I'm trying to get my video on. There we are. I tried to wear something similar to Phillips blue here since I don't have the blue background. But thanks so much for all of the information that you all have shared today. And thanks for partnering with NSBE, especially the Healthcare Innovation Special Interest Group, who have been a part of for the past year or so. One of the first questions that come to mind, being that I have a background with Kim with GE prior and others as well, what really inspired you to join Phillips Healthcare?
Well, and it's so good to see you, Jonathan, or Dr. Gray. It's
Great.
you know, it's interesting. Like I said, I've been in the industry for over 20 plus years, and almost 20 of those years were with GE Healthcare. And Phillips and I was in the cardiology space, and that's where Phillips dominates. So they had been a formidable competitor for years. a lot of respect for them as well. And, everyone has, a cycle, their career cycles. And, for me, what attracted me to Phillips, and I chose government about 12 years ago. And in the government space, that's the Department of Defense, your VA medical centers. The presence of Phillips was just overwhelming. And, I was at a point with, I wanted to get into a field that really made an impact in people's lives. And so when I got into the government and I really just saw the work that Phillips was doing to provide better care for veterans, and like Dr. Omnivar mentioned, we developed a rate program that is used at West Point, and you'll see the Joint Chiefs of Staff that wear our wearable technology, and that's how they monitor the health of their active duty men and women. So when you're with a competitor and you're looking at, the company like Phillips that is just entrenched in providing better care, you're attracted. You've competed against them and known them to be that formidable competitor. So when the opportunity was presented to me, it was almost a no-brainer that yes, I'm going to join a company that is innovating, and it's beyond just a MR or CT. They're into informatics. They're going to where healthcare is going with telehealth and virtual health and home health. So it's all about being innovative as a company. So that's what attracted me to Phillips. And then when I found individuals like Pam, who I worked with at GE for a long time, choosing Phillips for similar reasons, that it all comes together. And it's the mission. That's what attracted me to government. Mm-hmm. And that is what attracted me to Phillips as well. So I feel like I have the best of both worlds in the role that I'm in, and now with the company that I represent.
It's interesting, the similar paths, because after I left GE, I went to Booz Allen Hamilton, which is also a government contract consultant. And what you're speaking to about really making a difference and having an impact is really valuable. I love the focus that Phillips has on delivery. You were speaking about it earlier. It's not just about the devices. Right. It's really about the delivery of care, utilizing the devices as a form of technology. So yes. I'd be interested in hearing from others. I see Pam on camera as well. What led you to Phillips?
Well, in healthcare, healthcare is an industry where you can bring your passions to work. You can bring those technical skills, your marketing skills, your legal skills, but yet also make an impact in improving care and outcomes for people. So when you're in healthcare, there's like the big three, maybe four, and we're all doing similar things. And so Phillips represents integrity. It represents innovation and speed, right? So they play offense, they acquire, they merge, they innovate. And so in terms of career, it gives you all of that mix here. And then you will have come across the same people in your past. I've been in this for 26 years, and teams that I formed in Africa actually are the Africa teams in Phillips. So people work in an industry because they want to. Companies are, sort of are the vehicles in which you do that, but you'll cross paths again. And so it's a very positive experience, and Phillips represents a great brand committed to high quality and excellence. So it's a great place to land.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. And I open it up to others. I don't want to just point out Kim and Pam. If any others would like to share their inspiration for joining Phillips, please feel free to share as well.
I'll share mine. Hi, I'm Alfreda Larry Jackson. And actually, I started my career at GE Healthcare. So coming back to healthcare, hopefully to end my career, is the reason why I came back, what came to Phillips. But the way I was introduced to Phillips, and I tell people this story all the time. I worked at Coca-Cola. Phillips Arena was right across the street I never thought about Phillips. But I had two girlfriends to become vendors here at Phillips, and both of them were promoting that Phillips was promoting women in leadership roles. And so that excited me. They were just like, if there's any time to join Phillips, it is now. And so I took them up on that challenge to say, you know, let me figure out where I can join the company. And then after joining, and just 3 months within Phillips, I immediately joined the Black Employee Resource Group. And, you know, we were just very active team of over 800 employees, advocates, and allies, just improving the Black experience here at Phillips. And I'm just glad to be part of the company and as well as the Berg.
That is fantastic. Wonderful to see 4 actually with Tiffany Black women representing diversity at Phillips. And I'll I guess extend the invitation to Tiffany or any others, or we could move on to the next question. Don't want to call any one out in particular. All right. So and my next question was what are some of the benefits of working for Phillips? And you all have kind of addressed that. You mentioned, Alfreda, the Black Employee Resource Group, which I know from GE, the African American Forum was like a family. So could you speak to a little bit more, you know, the resources that you have at Phillips to support diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Yes, well, one of the main, I guess, things that are one of the main goals of Phillips is become the best place to work. And what they're doing is looking for people who not only share our passion around healthcare, but also those people who want to promote professional development, inclusion, and diversity. And so with that, Phillips has supported various different employee resource groups. Number one being the Berg, and Rachel Gatlin is on the phone, and she leads up Berg for Phillips. And you have Latinx, you have Pride, etc. So just if you're looking for support, it's there regardless of your differences. And so they're there to support you 100%.
Great, great. And not to call you out specifically, Alfreda, but just building off of your question, one of the things that I recall are the networking opportunities or conferences that were available. Many GE folks on here are familiar. So, and you alluded to it a little bit when it comes to professional development. So could you, any of you speak to you know, the professional development opportunities that are available at Phillips for people of color?
Well, I'm gonna put Lewis on the spot because both Lewis and I are co-leads for the Recruitment and Retention Committee, and we're partnering with our Personal Development Committee in some upcoming initiatives around talent development. So I'll let Lewis explain what that is.
Great.
Yeah, Alfreda, can you guys hear me okay? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, so, you know, one of I'll backtrack a little bit. I like to be there. Part of it was the engagement. I was very new to the company. I'd been in automotive as an OEM, as a supplier. I've been in appliance prior to that. You know, even though my engineering degree had a concentration in biomed, I never really got the opportunity to work in healthcare. So fast forward, I get a tap on the shoulder from somebody I worked with before, the previous company, told me about this great company, get a chance to get there. I'm there less than a year, and I get the opportunity to get re-involved in an employee resource group. And not just as a member of a team, we co-lead, and we're part of a core team, and we have opportunities to influence, you know, HR, IND, you know, and we also get to represent us as examples and people who are growing. So one of the things we talk about is a pipeline. I mean, I've been involved in every recruiting probably since 2006, every company that I've worked with. So when you start talking about development, I say from my standpoint, it's sharing with the people who are up and coming, and then also being able to pull from people who are already, have made it to certain levels. Not all of us are going to get to be SVPs and VPs. Not all of us want to be there, but we can also be in positions to help our own people along the way. And that's some of the things we've been able to do is tie in with. So I'm in Nashville. So one of the things we've been able to do is tie in with PSU. PSU has a lot of black here. I have a son that's one. So all these things just continue to resonate. And I get to work for a company that's supporting that, not only the development of people in our community, but there's also opportunities for us to grow. I'm in procurement. I'm not in an engineering capacity, but my role with my technical background allows me to work on things that support all of our diagnostic equipment through chilling equipment, power supplies. So I'm still involved in the technical pieces of it, but I'm working in another capacity, kind of what Tiffany talked about. So I probably got a lot more. I got a lot of passion around it. Sorry if I get too excited.
No, that's
those
great.
were great. Those were
Yeah.
great examples. Some other training opportunities for certainly every employee has access to some of the curated online courses. You can self-select or opt in, and they're fantastic. I mean, they are a wide range from leadership development, financial acumen, so that there's like a university curriculum that you can self-select into. Then there's also cohorts of learning. Women, there's a leadership courses for women, and each, like say every 6 months, there is the next 20 women are selected. So there's learnings that are developed internal. There's learning supported outside where there's funded. It's funded by your manager or your team, and you can get that kind of learning. And then of course the great work that the employee resource groups do. I mean, that's some really good learning. They curate presenters and speakers, and you can learn on the job. So it's some great opportunities to develop.
Can I also say something as well?
Please.
So glad to be invited to be a part of this forum. It's been educational and just really nice, and gives you even more of an appreciation for this forum and for Phillips. So Joshua, loved your question about employee resource groups, and this is an example of it. And one thing that I've liked the most is the employee resource groups have given a voice to many different diverse groups, and specifically, like she said, from Freda was saying about the Black Employee Resource Group, and given that voice, because it's not just in existence today, but it's also being developed and grown with things like education, but then you have the chance to make a difference because things are brought, organizations, external, internal ideas, training, and needs are brought into the organization, and they're actually listened to and actioned upon. For example, me coming to this particular forum, right, is something, and more partnerships with other groups of interests. We have the same. And then something that's brand new, you talked about training, is we have enhanced training that includes, unconscious bias has been around for a long time, but we had that rewritten to reflect some of our ideas or some of our dilemmas that we go through today, as well as things like microaggressions and all those types of things, because we're being sensitive to what's going on now. And these things come about from employees. Yes, we look at what's going on in the world, but also the ideas, what are the employees needing to make us have a more inclusive and comfortable environment today, and something that's thriving. We also have a lot of commitments and acknowledgments from leadership to not only feed what Phillips say used to look like or what it looks like today, but what it needs to look like for tomorrow, because we recognize the need for having diverse employees and happy diverse employees in order to continue to be successful as a company. Just wanted to add that.
I appreciate that. Thanks for speaking up, Rachel. And I see that we had a question from John Thomas, who is our founding director, regarding individual technical contributors as well as technical leaders. But I think Lewis, in his description of his experience, has addressed that question. Something that you stated, Rachel, that triggered something in my mind are, you have the employee resource groups, you have the actual training, what mentoring or mentorship opportunities are available for you all at Phillips to get to that next level where, Lewis was saying, I may not want to be an executive. I may want to be, a subject matter expert in this area. But yeah, to any of you, what types of mentoring opportunities to be a mentor or be a mentee exist within the organization?
So there's always been a type of mentoring, something active that's been a mentoring program. And it's been, I'm going to say more loosely defined because you always encourage the mentoring program and there's something out there. There's documentation and suggestions on our intranet site. However, it became very formal again through the voices of our Black employees that said, hey, we want something that really guides our career progression, because one of the mission of the Black Employer Resource Group is to lead employees through their, like bringing employees in, making it comfortable and successful while you're there, and then leading you to success, whatever that means for you. Like you said, whether you want to be in leadership or you want to learn more about certain things or get into a different department. So we piloted back, it started last September, a formal mentoring program, and the Black Employer Resource Group was the pilot group for it. And we just got really formal with rewriting the mentoring materials and making it a pilot for 6 months, where it just ended May. And we've used the learnings for that new revised formal program to now build out another succession, and that's going to launch in probably 2 months. That will also include the Black employees as well as 2 other resource groups, because we found that it was successful. So we're not saying that you have to just use this forum for mentorship, but we've tried something, it's really worked. We're tweaking it and making it, launching in a much bigger way, and then we'll be telling. So I think this group is the first to hear about what's coming, but making it, launching it in a bigger way, because something that we found was very successful. And that's just one piece of it. And we're also going to revamp the sponsorship program and make that very formal, because as you know, mentorship and sponsorship are different. One, yeah, making sure that you know which door to go through, and the next one is opening up that door. So that is not a concern that we're not doing that. It is actually something that's here and working and being revamped to be better and better.
Great.
In addition, the executive women are supporting younger women through mentorship. So there's a formal effort of our executive leadership of women being assigned formally to the younger women in various functions across poles. So an American mentoring someone in Europe, and vice versa. So that there are several efforts in play to support the development and retention of employees here.
Fantastic. That is wonderful to hear. And it really leads to kind of the next question. And I see that we only have a few minutes left. And it piggybacks off of a question in our chat. And it's really about giving back, not just within the organization, but within the community, whether it's locally, regionally, nationally. I love that you mentioned sponsorship. I got a little excited, Rachel, because that's how we got connected, we being Nesby and Phillips, and we're looking forward to partnering with you all more going forward in the future, because it's, these types of sponsorship that provide scholarships and things like that for others. And the gist of the question is really around, how does Phillips give back to the communities that they serve? In any capacity or within any region.
I would like to just talk through one of the activities I volunteer that Phillips supports, and that's with MedShare. And MedShare is the nonprofit organization that is focused on pulling together equipment or underutilized equipment and products from hospitals. And Phillips goes in and repackage those and send them around the world. And the last one I participated in was that we sent, they calculate the donation in pounds. I can't remember how many pounds it was, but it went to Haiti. And so it was just really personable, because one of the guys that lead the MedShare program is from Haiti. And so he could just see firsthand how we was helping, his country. And so I'd really love and support that activity. And then another thing that Lewis and I participate on is with Tennessee State. We serve on their supply chain board. And that's more of, again, making sure that the students in the School of Business and hopefully now engineering have the skill sets and the wherewithal to be able to interview and get the jobs that are available within Phillips. So that's just a couple of examples.
Yes, and then finally at our major hubs, like whether it's in Seattle or Nashville or Atlanta or Pittsburgh or Cambridge, there's support to volunteer. So we have formal days supported by the company where we go out in the community together on topics that the employees choose. Yeah, so many of you probably work in companies that do the same. So heart health, ALS, we have an ALS event coming up where our CEO and team will be in the dunking booth to raise funds for ALS. Cancer walks, we are all supporting those. Globally, we support campaigns for Ukraine, and right, because we're a global company based in the Netherlands, and so our scope is to help around the world. This morning, I had a call with the president of the Phillips Foundation, and just to see the impact that they're focused on around health equity, right? Health equity means more than color. It means any under-resourced setting. And so that means Indigenous people in the US and in the Native Americans. That means, low resource settings in the US where there's an economic gap, and how can we help mortality rates and all of that. So through foundation and through volunteerism, that's how we get back.
Fantastic. And I see that we are at our time. This has been extremely enjoyable. I'm glad that we had the opportunity to coordinate this discussion and to see the various types of diversity. I have to give a special shout out to Lewis, because I thought for a minute that there were only Black women at Phillips for a minute. So there truly is diversity. You have Black men and women over at Phillips. So, and love to see the transitions from GE to spread the love, and lessons learned, and that there's continuous improvement, as Rachel was mentioning, with the programs that you all have. We invite all of the participants, whether from Phillips or from Healthcare Innovation Special Interest Group, to join us in person in Miami for the Professional Development Conference. There will be a number of professional development events. That was one of the questions that were mentioned, mixers and things like that. Now, granted, I'm from Tampa, so I know that August is not always the ideal time to go to Florida. And at the same time, it'll be a good time to reconnect with various people. And my apologies for the background noise. One moment. I'm actually in Houston near the Texas Medical Center. That's what led me here from Atlanta to get involved with the community here, as also president of the NSBE Houston chapter. So with that said, I want to thank you all. Are there any closing comments that you all want to make before we end this evening?
Kimberly?
Now, I just want to thank you again, for the opportunity and that you've given us to share a little bit about the company and our experience and where we're going. It's an exciting time. It really is an exciting time to be part of Phillips and really make an impact. And we will be realizing our vision to influence the lives of billions of people. So we look forward to having more interactions with you all and having you join our team.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thanks so much. I will be reaching out just to let you all know in advance to follow up on opportunities. One of the things that we're really motivating more of, and this may be a future workshop for us, is supplier diversity. So it's one thing to have employee diversity, but also supplier diversity. And I heard procurement with Lewis. Used to call sourcing when we were at GE, but that could be a future topic that we could explore for another time, another engagement. So just setting the stage for the conversation.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Stay safe and healthy. And hope to see you either in person at PDC or on our next webinar call that we've kind of queued up here. Have a good night and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you
care.
very much.
Take care. Bye.
Good night.